We have a lot of updates surrounding the Boston Red Sox, and specifically the pitching. As over the last few days, it seems like it's been a bit chaotic, and the depth that the Red Sox once maintained is now diminished. I'm here to break down the trades we've seen for cash considerations, the new IL stints, and the newest arrivals to the Red Sox roster. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Red Sox Digest. And before we get to all the news, please do remember to subscribe to the channel, as nearly 90% of you guys watching this video aren't currently subscribed. Stay up to date on everything Boston Red Sox with this channel, so scroll down and click that subscribe button. We do appreciate it. So now let's get to it and break down the newest updates surrounding the Boston Red Sox pitching, as it's been very chaotic, very ever so slightly. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's just a lot has happened today and over the last few days involving the bullpen of this Red Sox team, and it feels like the depth that they once maintained is completely gone, and it really has gone unannounced in a way. So we'll start with this. A Chris Colito tweet. It says, that came from earlier today on May 30th. The Red Sox are calling up Nick Burdi to join the team in Atlanta tonight. Multiple sources confirm. There's a corresponding move to be made, and likely an IL stint for an unidentified pitcher. We would later find out that pitcher was Liam Hendriks, and then we'd learn via this tweet from Chris Colito of the injury, which was the official word from the Red Sox on Hendriks is right hip inflammation. So Hendriks is down with a right hip problem. He'll be out for a certain amount of time that we don't know the exact timetable for. And in the process of him being on the IL, the Boston Red Sox, replaced his roster spot with Nick Burdi. It obviously was in the minor league system for the Red Sox up to this point in the year. Someone who has been dealing with a lot of injuries throughout his entirety of his career, which is unfortunate to say. But again, when he has been there in the short amount of innings and actual reps he has been able to obtain, he's been pretty damn good. If you go look at his Baseball Savant pages from 2018-19, he missed 21. 20 was pretty good, as well as 23. A lot of things he did very, very well, but again, because of the lack of reps, he didn't qualify for any of the stats actually. So there's no concrete information there to go off of. And again, they were a short amount of reps, so it could be a fluke, if you will, if you'd like to go off in that sense. Glass half empty, if you will. But now back to Chris Colito's Twitter, because he then, in response to these tweets that we just referenced, he gave us an article on the severity of Liam Hendriks' injury, as well as some background information to that. Maybe he's been playing with this for some time now, and it could be the result of why he's not been playing that well. Because if you guys know and have been watching Liam Hendriks in these big moments for the Red Sox as a form of closer, high leverage scenario, he has really laid an egg in a lot of these. And I don't mean that in the box score or in the game logs, because he has been getting hit around. I mean in the sense of a quality start, or a quality appearance, I should say, as again, he is not starting games for the Red Sox. Baseball Savant, again, he has not qualified for a lot this season outside of the extension rate on his delivery. Everything else, what he has really log stats for, have not been great. Not the greatest Baseball Savant page as of now. The whiff percentage is the only thing that really stands out in the plus side of things. And if you look at the overall numbers he has produced in this season and overall, and whether you filter it by the last 7 days, the last 15 days, or the last 3 starts by the game logs, the numbers are not good, regardless of where you actually look in trying to review Liam Hendriks. It's unfortunate, it was someone that we had faith in going into this season as a substantial piece to the bullpen for this Boston Red Sox team. And up to this point in the year, obviously he's been dealing with injury. He was returning from a major injury, so we didn't know which version we were actually going to get from him. And up to this point in the year, we can say confidently that it was not the A-plus side of Hendriks, at least up to this point. Now he's been sidelined with a right hip problem, right hip inflammation to be specific, and it seems like he may have been dealing with this for some time, ever since his actual first start this season, or his first appearance, again I should say, for the Red Sox. Now Chris Colito would go on to write that article that we quickly mentioned earlier, and these are some of the quotes that we got from it. A source with knowledge of Hendriks' recent medical history said Hendriks has been dealing with multiple hernias, contending that the issue date that the issues date back to around May 8th when Hendricks went 2 innings for the first time. According to the source, the righty has been pitching through the issue in recent weeks, but it got to the point where an IL stint was most logical. So again, Hendricks has been dealing with hernia, a bunch of different hernias inside the body, and because of that, as well as now the right hip inflammation, he has to be sidelined because it's no longer something he can actually deal with and work through at a professional level, which is crazy to even think about that he's been working through all of that. Obviously, it has showed in his performances as he's been handicapped to just some extent in the sense of what his overall level of production can be on the mound because of the overall health and it not being at 100%. So it's going to be interesting to see him go, take some time off, be on the IL, rehab, and come back if he can reach maximum healthiness and actually be at his best for this Red Sox team. It could be a polar opposite of a difference when he does return, and he could be a substantial piece for the Boston Red Sox in that bullpen, unlike we have seen up to this point. Now, this is an interesting piece to the Hendricks situation. One of the most interesting pieces out of the entire conversation, in my opinion, because it seems like Hendricks has been a bit frustrated with the overall usage of him up to this point in the year. And we'll break down the actual quote written here from Chris Calito again in that article we referenced earlier. But it goes on to say, Hendricks, who made headlines last week when he publicly expressed his frustrations with his role and lack of usage in Boston's bullpen, looked hobbled on the mound during some recent outings, including last weekend against the Orioles. It's unclear how long he will be sidelined. Hendricks is in the final year of a 2-year, $10 million contract that includes significant incentives based on appearances and games finished. There's also a mutual option for 2026. So Chris Calito goes on to mention the actual contract in the year of the contract that Hendricks is actually in, and how important it would be for him to be active this season. He can't just sit on the sidelines and hope to get this contract paid out to him. He needs to be healthy to get some of the incentives that are really in this contract and fueling the entirety of this contract. So yes, Hendricks is now out on the IL. Nick Burdi, who we broke down briefly in the sense that we reviewed what his career has looked like up to this point. Not a lot of reps because of the injuries he has dealt with. He has made 2 appearances this year for the Red Sox, and he has a 0 ERA, which is always great. But again, a lack of reps to go off of. You cannot sit here and sell the fact that he's going to be an ace or a closer in this bullpen until he can really establish himself, because over the 5 years in his career up to this point, he has not showed the ability to be available. And without that ability, you can't rely on this guy to that extent. Now for the final piece, the final update surrounding the Red Sox. The young man that was traded for cash considerations. Now the Red Sox tweeted this back on May 27th, which was 3 days ago. The hashtag Red Sox today traded left-handed pitcher Sean Newcomb to the Athletics in exchange for cash considerations. Now it's interesting to think that the Red Sox, as currently constructed, where they are sitting, not only in standings, in the sense of standings, but overall on paper, as well as on the diamond in the overall production that you see. And again, specifically speaking about the bullpen at this point, I don't know if we can really agree and say that they're in a scenario, in a spot where they are in a position, I should say, to trade an arm. Specifically a lefty arm out of the bullpen. Now, Sean Newcomb, up to this point in the year, has not been great for the Red Sox. I'm not arguing that he is some stud that the Red Sox just traded away for cash considerations, and now he's going to be a monster out with the Athletics. That's not what I'm saying. Just the idea that they are losing more depth here despite dealing with all the injuries they're currently dealing with, as well as the problems in the bullpen we have seen up to this point in the year. Just a very odd move, in my opinion. Obviously, trying to move Newcomb now when he still has some form of value, I understand, but you didn't get any player assets back in exchange. You traded him for cash considerations. We don't know the lump total that will be coming back to the Red Sox. It's just a very interesting move, in my opinion. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I'm not saying I'm the biggest Newcomb fan and I was the biggest supporter of his. Obviously, he was a part of the Red Sox. I wanted to see him be successful. And he was a younger guy, he is a 31. I guess he's a bit older, I should say. But it's just another added piece to the bullpen, another piece of depth that you can use as a starter, a reliever, whatever you may need to just get through the innings. And yes, he has not been great. I will not argue that, especially as of late. He was getting actually rocked and hit around. So the Red Sox ended up moving him to the Athletics, and now they are down 2 pieces in the last 3 days. Hendricks to IL, as well as Newcomb via trade. Obviously, Birdie is then called up. We don't know how much faith to really put in him due to the injury history he's dealt with, but it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. That's all the updates we have for you on this episode of Red Sox Digest. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.